Here are the top 10 expensive mistakes that first-time home buyers make. Hi, I'm Chuck Vosberg from Next Home Gulf to Bay, along with my wife, Pat. And I've got 10 mistakes that can cost you a lot of money, so I'd like you to avoid them. Mistake number 1 is borrowing too much money. When you borrow to the maximum of what you can qualify for, that may leave you in a position where when life happens and you have unexpected expenses, it may leave you really in a bad position. So make sure that what your monthly payment is going to be with your mortgage fits in with your financial picture so that you've got a little bit of a cushion, because life will happen, especially with a new house. Something's going to break, something will go wrong. I can almost guarantee it. Mistake number 2, not checking your credit report. Your credit report's vital to this whole process. It determines how much you can borrow, and it also determines what your interest rate is likely to be, along with many other things in life. So check your credit report and check it for errors. If there are errors in it, now is the time to get them corrected so that you can get the very best rate and the very best mortgage possible. Mistake number 3, not comparing lenders. There are a lot of different kinds of lenders out there, and the kinds that usually come to mind may not be the best for you. There are lenders that have different kinds of programs. There are lenders who specialize in first-time home buyers and are very up-to-date on first-time home buyer assistance programs. There's a lot of different types of loans. There's a lot of different kinds of programs, and different lenders specialize in different areas. So your realtor will be able to help guide you in the right direction on this, because they've probably worked with many, many lenders over time and kind of know which ones specialize in what and which ones do a good job. The next mistake is kind of related. It's not comparing the mortgages. You may get different rates from different lenders, may get different terms, they vary a little bit. Now, you're not going to see huge differences from one lender to the next, because it's very competitive out there. But you may be able to get a little bit better deal if you shop around just a little bit. Mistake number 5 is a big one. It's creating red flags during the mortgage process. Now, what I mean by that, these are things that you may do inadvertently that will either change your mortgage or possibly make it so that you get all the way to closing and not even be able to close. So let me explain. You know that your lender is going to check your credit in the very beginning. They're going to check over everything before they give you your pre-approval. But what most people don't know is the lender goes back and checks all of those things again the day before closing. They want to make sure that nothing has changed that would change your ability to repay the loan. So if you have done anything, it could jeopardize your loan or even your ability to close. Now, here are some things to avoid. Don't open any new credit cards or lines of credit. Don't buy anything big on credit. Don't transfer big amounts of money from one account to the other. Don't change jobs. We've seen people who get all the way to closing and they quit their job, and the lender's like, well, wait a minute, you're unemployed right now? No, we're not lending you the money. And they couldn't close on their house, and that was the day of closing. Everything was all set up. They were ready to move, and the whole thing fell apart at the last minute just because they quit their job. And another thing, like, people will buy furniture for their new place and put it on the credit card. Well, that's a giant mistake because it could jeopardize your ability to close. Mistake number 6, not doing inspections. Not doing inspections is very hazardous. You may think you're saving a couple $100, but it could cost you tens of thousands of dollars in headaches after you close that could have been easily avoided. I say that inspections are cheap insurance, and it's never a good idea to skip them. I'll give you an example. We had one buyer who was a little reluctant to spend the money on a sewer scope. That's where they send a camera down through the sewer pipe. Well, we knew because of when the house was built and where it was sitting, there might be a problem. So we got him to do the sewer scope. It cost a few $100s. It revealed that it was almost certainly going to fail soon. And that would have been a $20,000 mistake had that person just not done that inspection. So do not skimp on inspections. It's cheap insurance, and it's always a good idea to do them. Mistake number 7. Buying a fixer-upper without the ability to fix it or the time to fix it. We see this often because we see the television shows of people buy a fixer-upper and they fix it up themselves. They save tons of money and the place is just beautiful. But in reality, what usually happens is one of two things. Either somebody buys a fixer-upper and they kind of get into it and they realize they don't really have the skills to do all the work themselves, so they have to hire a professional to do it. And of course, when you hire a professional, it's going to cost a lot more to get it done. So that's one mistake. The other one, and this is one we see very commonly, is that you buy the fixer-upper, you possess the skills to do the work. That's not a problem. But what you forget is that, well, you have to earn a living in the meantime. You've got a full-time job, you've got other responsibilities, and what frequently ends up happening is it takes forever to get the repairs done. It eats up all of their free time, and they don't really have any quality of life while they're trying to fix this place up, and it turns into a big frustrating mess. Mistake number 8, overlooking buyer assistance programs. A lot of people assume that they don't qualify for programs, and your lender should be very well versed in what's available. Now, these are constantly changing. They change depending on the municipalities, counties, and states, and availability of funds. Sometimes they have time limits to them, so they're constantly changing. Now, naturally, a lot of them have income requirements attached to them, but they don't all. Some of them are based on geographic areas. Perhaps the municipality wants more people to live in a certain area, so they'll offer incentives to buy in that area. So if that's an area that you're looking at, you may be able to get a lot of money to help you out. There's all kinds of programs for all kinds of people, even ones for, like one that's real popular is for public servants. So if you work in any kind of profession where you're serving the public, you may get some kind of assistance. So don't overlook that. Mistake number 9, buying the home through the buyer's agent. Now, this is something that, it kind of makes sense. You see a house, you see the sign, so you call the phone number, and the seller's agent will answer the phone. They'll have you come over and look at it, and they'll take care of the whole process. It makes sense, but the thing you have to consider is that agent has a responsibility to serve the seller and represent the seller's wants and needs and not yours. Everything they do is they're ethically bound to do it to the benefit of the seller, and they don't work for you. That can cost you a lot. You need an actual buyer's agent that represents you so that your agent's looking after your best interests and making sure that you get the very best deal, very best terms, and that you're looked after during the whole process. This brings us to mistake number 10, not choosing a qualified buyer's agent. There are a lot of agents out there, and you may know one, or maybe a friend or a family member knows one, or maybe a family member is one. But one thing that you have to be cautious of is that the vast majority of agents do less than 2 transactions a year because a lot of agents are part-time. Now, you need a full-time agent who is very experienced. There are a lot of things that can go wrong in buying a house, as you can imagine. There are legal things. There's things to do with the house. There's a lot of negotiation that happens to get you the very best deal and very best terms. So I'd recommend, first of all, you can't really tell by just talking to somebody, but there are certifications and designations that will signify somebody's proficiency. And one of them is ABR. It's Accredited Buyer's Representative. That's somebody who's gotten additional education and specialized education in representing buyers. So that's one thing that you can look for that would guarantee that they know what they're doing and they're going to do a really great job representing your interests. Another one, there's a lot of them, but if they've got a bunch of letters after their name, that'll tell you that they're really committed to advanced education and being the very best agent that they can be. So if you've got any questions, just ask. I've got a free guide that kind of goes over all this stuff in a little bit more detail. You can download it. The link is in the description or wherever it goes, depending on where you're seeing this. And so download that thing. It'll help you out. And if you have any questions, give me a call. I'm happy to help you. No strings attached. We put humans over houses. That's our motto. And if you need to get hooked up with a qualified agent somewhere, anywhere in the whole country, we personally know people all over the country. So we may be able to hook you up with somebody that we know and trust, and somebody who you can trust as well. So thank you for watching. I hope you got a lot out of this, and you have a wonderful day.